This is Akashvani. In the program Spotlight, now we bring you a discussion on outcomes of Raisina Dialogue 2024. The participants are Ashok Sajjanhar, former ambassador, and Rajesh Lake, anchor.
New Delhi hosted the ninth edition of the Raisina Dialogue from Wednesday until Friday, that's February 23rd. It was organized by the Ministry of External Affairs in collaboration with the Observer Research Foundation. The conference was inaugurated by Prime Minister Narendra Modi along with Prime Minister of Greece, Kyriakos Mitsotakis, who was the chief guest. Mr. Sajjanhar, what is the Raisina Dialogue all about? What are its objectives and what is its significance?
As you have said, this was the ninth edition of the Raisina Dialogue. It is held every year in Delhi in the month of February. Even during the years of COVID, I think it was just 1 year that it was held in a virtual format. But otherwise, it is held all the time in person. Of course, there are a large number of participants who attend it online also. But it was started in 2016, and I think the basic idea was that when this new government headed by Prime Minister Modi came to power in 2014, it was thought that it was essential to articulate India's position and India's views on the most burning challenges, the most formidable and intractable challenges that the world is confronting, because the position of India in world affairs and global affairs is growing. If you look at the situation, let us say from 2014 till 2024, in about 10 years, in economic terms, India was the 10th, 11th largest economy in the world in 2014. Today, it has become the 5th largest economy in the world. And very soon, in another 3-4 years, India is going to emerge as the 3rd largest economy after it outpaces both Japan and Germany. So economically, its position is increasing. Also, in terms of political and strategic standing, the manner in which India has been able to deal with the COVID-19 pandemic, while even many of the developed countries were found wanting in how to deal with that challenge. Also, under the Vaccine Maitri initiative, India was able to share its vaccines to more than 100 countries, more than 300 million doses. So I think the challenges that the world has been confronting, India has been dealing with them quite successfully. So I think it was thought right at the beginning of Prime Minister Modi's term that we need a platform where we can articulate our views and our positions. And over the last 9 years, this Raisina dialogue, Raisina is the hill on the top of which all the major ministries, whether it is the Ministry of Defense, Ministry of External Affairs, the Prime Minister's office, that means all the decision making is done there. That was the name that was given to this dialogue. It has evolved in a big way. In the ninth format, we had more than 2,500 to 3,000 participants who came and participated in person. There were representatives from about 115 countries. There were more than 20 foreign ministers, in addition to the Prime Minister of Greece, Prime Minister Mitsotakis, that you mentioned. He was the chief guest and he delivered the keynote address. So I think the significance, importance, profile of Raisina Dialogue over the last 9 years has grown very significantly. And as I said, it provides a platform for India to articulate its views and its positions.
So before I proceed any further on the ninth Raisina Dialogue, I would like to understand from you, what were the achievements and outcomes of the previous 8? I don't want detailed of it, but major accomplishments that we have had over the 8th dialogue.
I think it will be rather difficult to identify that these were the specific outcomes of any particular Raisina dialogue. But basically, the manner in which foreign policy or the policies of a country are formulated, it is a platform for a dialogue. So when you are engaging in a dialogue, you look at the different challenges and you try to project your own position, your own views. You also listen to what the others have to say. and try to see where there are areas of overlap and where there are areas of divergence. As it was mentioned, this is the dialogue provides what is called a public square. So, when it is a public square, there are people of hues, of diverse views. They come and they share their thoughts and their ideas. So, I think whether it is the issue of multilateralism, whether it is the issue of climate change, whether it is the issue of security in the South China Sea, as far as North South Korea is concerned, as far as the Russia Ukraine conflict is concerned, as far as the conflict in West Asia, particularly between Israel and Hamas in the Gaza Strip is concerned. So, all these issues are discussed. These are not issues which can be discussed over a 2-day, 3-day conference or a dialogue, and you try to get outcomes and you try to get solutions. But you basically try to understand each other's position and then try to find out what is the way forward. Similarly, in the case of one of the issues that was discussed in the ninth Raisina dialogue was the way beyond 2030. The theme of the ninth dialogue was Chaturang. That means the four particular elements in which relations between different countries are conducted. But also there was an element of the way beyond 2030. 2030 becomes very significant because that is the end point of the achievement of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And unfortunately, because of the challenges of war that I mentioned, Russia-Ukraine conflict, also in terms of the COVID-19 pandemic, the progress and the forward movement of different countries has suffered a setback. So there were all these issues that also got discussed at the ninth Raisina dialogue, as many of them were also discussed at the earlier dialogues.
So, as you mentioned, the dialogue is structured as a multi-stakeholder, cross-sectoral discussion involving heads of state, cabinet ministers and local government officials who are joined by thought leaders from the private sector, media and academia. And as you said, the theme was Chaturang. And if I may elaborate the theme further, conflict, contest, cooperate and create. So in what context was this theme chosen? What is the basis on which this theme was chosen? If you could elaborate on each point, the four C's.
I think a lot of thought went into creating this, deciding upon this theme. And it is from the Indian thinking, Indian legacy and heritage. So as you said very rightly, it starts with conflict because there are so many conflicts that are going on in the world. Some of them I referred to. After that, you also have contestation between different powers, particularly if you look at the contestation between the East and the West, between China and the United States, and how both of them are also vying for global domination and vying for global hegemony as far as these two powers are concerned. After that, from conflict and contest, it is essential to move on to cooperation because wars and contestations and confrontation is not the solution for any problem. So you have to come together and try to cooperate. And beyond that are the possibilities of creation, which is what technology today can provide us, the possibilities that the potential of technology, whether it is artificial intelligence, quantum computing, it is space, it is green energy. So all these sort of things, how they can come together to the benefit of the world and of the people.
So one of the major agenda that was discussed in the Raisina Dialogue 2024 was the India-Armenia dialogue. Now, India and Armenia are building a partnership at a time when the global political and economic order is undergoing reinvention. Would you elaborate on this, please?
Yes, India and Armenia, I think, like many other countries, as I mentioned, there were about more than 20 foreign ministers who came, many of them from Europe. About 15 of them were from Europe. And Armenia was one of those countries, and the importance of India-Armenia relations has become very important because very recently Armenia has embarked on a new initiative called the Crossroads of Peace. And Armenia is particularly interested in utilizing the North-South Transport Corridor and also utilizing the Chabahar Port project that India has been focusing on. We have seen that Armenia has been also in a conflict over the last 3 years because of the Nagorno-Karabakh area, which is not a part of Armenia, but it is mostly been populated by Armenians, and it has been under independent sort of administration since the early 1990s when it was taken over after war between Armenia and Azerbaijan. But more recently, we've seen Azerbaijan, with the support and assistance of Turkey and of Pakistan and of some of the other countries like Israel, they have been able to occupy large segment of territory of Nagorno-Karabakh, which is also known as Artsakh. And Armenia has been a little disappointed because it has not been helped or supported by the Collective Security Treaty Organization, of which it is a member and which is spearheaded by Russia. So there are all these challenges, but over the last few years, we have seen relations between India and Armenia are improving. And Indian External Affairs Minister had visited Armenia recently. Also, there was a meeting between the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, and the Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan. And they have decided to strengthen the cooperation between the two, and the visit of a delegation from Armenia and their very active participation in the Raisina dialogue, and also their interaction with a large number of think tanks in Delhi have also helped to strengthen relations not only at the government level, but also between different think tanks. And I think it augurs well for further improvement and expansion and deepening of ties between India and Armenia in the coming months.
Mr. Sajjanhar, the United Nations Security Council's ability to function effectively and fairly has been questioned ever more widely. And your comment on the reforming multilateralism.
I think that's a very significant aspect that was discussed. And as the External Affairs Minister, Dr. Jaishankar, mentioned, that the multilateral institutions, particularly the United Nations and the UN Security Council, have been found wanting in dealing effectively with the challenges of peace and security that the world has been confronting, whether it is the COVID-19 or it is the Russia-Ukraine conflict or it is the Israel-Hamas conflict that has occurred. And that is because the membership of the UN has increased fourfold since it was established in 1945. But the institutions, particularly the UN Security Council, which was established at that time, that has not undergone any change. So it is necessary that this change comes about, but you also realize that there are 5 countries who are at the helm of affairs, and of course they would not agree willingly. Of course, if they were far-sighted, they would agree to lessening of their power and authority and to making it more inclusive and bringing other countries also on board along with them. But obviously they are acting in a short-sighted manner, so they will not agree. So this change will have to come about. It will come about, but it will come about slowly and gradually.
Thank you, Mr. Ashok Sajjanhar, for being with us and discussing the Raisina Dialogue 2024.
Thank you very much.
You were listening to a discussion on outcomes of Raisina Dialogue 2024. The participants were Ashok Sajjanhar, former ambassador, and Rajesh Lake, anchor. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of Akashvani. You can listen to it on our mobile app, News on AIR. This program is also available on our YouTube channel, News on AIR Official. You may share your feedback about this program through email at airnsttalks@gmail.com